The 1994 Northridge earthquake. I've been meaning to talk about this for a while. It's an interesting piece of Los Angeles history, and personally, it's like I've always been, there's an attachment to the earthquake because I was living in the San Fernando Valley when it happened, so I was like fairly close to the epicenter. Anybody that lived in the valley really felt it really hard. Anyway, so some basic statistics about it. It's like it was happened on the morning of January 17th, 1994, and it's called the Northridge earthquake. I was looking up the Wikipedia information on it, and I didn't think that they had this on there, but I distinctly remember that it was actually days after it happened. They actually said that the epicenter was in Reseda, the district of Reseda. So but they, the name Northridge stuck because it was like next door, it's really close by. So anyway, so it was called the Northridge earthquake. They finally came up with the, what they think is the exact magnitude, 6.7. I remember distinctly, one of the things is that they don't have on the Wikipedia entry is that I distinctly remember in the beginning they were saying it was like that day they were saying it was more like a 7.2 or something like that. I can't really find any information on it. It happened at 4:31 in the morning, and basically waked almost everybody up. I have a few stories of people that were actually awake when the earthquake occurred. But they were actually up and awake. It's like, anyway, if you were anywhere near the epicenter, you had a rude awakening, that's for sure. If I had to use just one word to describe the earthquake, that word would be violent. It was absolutely violent. It was when it, it's like it probably started I think it started rather abruptly. It probably had maybe a second or two of warm up, and then it started shaking really bad. But it was like like the building was like bang, 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 bang. It's like, and so my dog's looking at me right now. What's wrong with me? Anyway, so it was really violent if you were anywhere near the epicenter, and I got to tell you, if people are being honest, it's like, and you ask people that were there, living there in the area, they would tell you that thought they were going to die. Most people thought they were going to die that morning. It was that horrible, and actually, and the same thing with me. I thought I was going to die that morning. I was living in a condo. I was renting a condo in Encino on Zelzah, just north of Ventura Boulevard. We call it the Boulevard, and it was just like maybe a couple blocks north on Zelzah from Ventura Boulevard, and it was on the west side of the street. It's interesting that that particular area has a lot of like condo and apartment buildings, and on either side of it. And one of the things that happened afterwards, it was like this red tag, yellow tag kind of thing. It's like, of course, if your building was red tagged, you couldn't go back in it. It was kind of sad because a lot of people couldn't get their belongings out. Me, I would have gone in and got my belongings, my important stuff out anyway. So anyway, so it was kind of sad. It's like for some reason our building, it was like. It was weird because it's like one building, like, next to us was yellow tag or red tag, and then our building was okay. Our building was not, I don't know how it was tagged, but it was like safe to be in. It's like it was not red tagged. So it's like, but like the apartment building across the street could have been red tagged or yellow tagged or whatever. I can't remember all the colors. I think there was 3 colors that they used. Anyway, so we were pretty. So we were okay to stay there and stuff. At the time of the earthquake, it actually, before I forget, it's like it knocked out all of the electricity across the valley, San Fernando Valley. It was completely out, and it gradually went up in area here, there, over the course of like a week, about a week. It took, I think, probably a full week for it to completely come back up everywhere. because everything was in emergency mode, and you know they couldn't get to everything. So the electricity was out, and I got to tell you, it was really, really dark, you know, because it was 4:30 in the morning, and people don't realize it's like, you know, even if your electricity goes out, you have, you know, it's like maybe like say it's dark and you get up at 4:30 in the morning, there's ambient light. There was no ambient light, you know, because the street lights were out and everything. So it's like, so it was just dark. I didn't have a kind of, you know, when the earthquake was happening, I had my dog Apache, my favorite skippergy, and it's like he was like laying, I think he was laying at the end of the bed, and then I kind of grabbed him, and I held him underneath my arm, you know, and I held on to him. He was actually very calm during the whole thing, you know. I was just holding him, and he was really calm, and I had a death grip on the bed. It's like to keep from getting knocked out of the bed, and that's not an exaggeration. I was really afraid I was going to get tossed out of the bed, and actually I did know somebody at the time that did get knocked out of their bed. It's like at least one person got knocked out of the bed. So immediately afterwards, it's like you're going, what the hell's going on? It's all dark and everything. So it's like I get up, you know, with the dog, and I still have him in my arm, and I'm kind of walking around, you know, and during the earthquake, you know, things went flying, you know, like the lamp. There was like a lamp and some other stuff on a dresser, and it went flying. My TV, a lot of people lost their TVs. It's like, because it's like they just went, you know, they just got tossed and got you know, knocked over. I know mine got knocked out, and it's like got dumped onto the floor, and I can't remember if it was you know, like was broke to the point where I couldn't, you know, use it again. I'm not sure. I may have had to get a new TV. I just don't quite remember that part. And there were things knocked out, and then you know, we were wandering around, and it's like trying to figure out what's, and so everybody else in the complex is too. The condo complex I lived in was 3 stories, you know, and we got you know, like if you're on the ground, you felt the jarring more. The people on the 2nd and 3rd floor, especially the 3rd floor, they had a little more of a swaying effect, so they actually lost more things because things came flying out of their out of the kitchen, you know. It's like they lost their plates and stuff, out of the cupboards and stuff. So you know, they lost more stuff probably, and then you know, it's like so it's like I made my way out into the living room, you know. Now, you know, because the electricity was off, also your phone was dead, because at that time, you know, I had a landline. I did not have a cell phone, and it was quite some time before there were smartphones, obviously. And only actually there were cell phones, you know, the old kind of cell phones, but most people did not have cell phones yet. You know, some people did. Usually it was work related, and they would have their cell phone. You know, they'd have a cell phone for work, and so there were some people that had cell phones, but most people did not. It was only until maybe a few years later that most people were getting cell phones at that time. By that time, anyway. So it's like I made my way out into the living room, and then I discovered I could not get out the front door. I think because the doorknob had bent, and it bent because I had, you know, I think I did a story about this. I had this coffin thing made for my 40th birthday, and I shouldn't have kept it, I guess. And but I paid money for it, so it's like I kept this hokey, you know, wood coffin that somebody made for me, and it fell over. It fell over and hit the doorknob. It hit the doorknob and bent it, so I couldn't get out the front door. Unfortunately, I had like a slider thing. You know, I went out, and it's like on the side there was a sliding glass door thing, and we got out that way. There was like a patio. It had about a 6-foot tall wooden patio, you know, fence around it, and so, but we went out that way, and then when we went out, when I went out with my dog and stuff, there were other people gathered in like the center area of the apartment complex, and they were, you know, everybody was talking, you know, so everybody's talking and like in shock and everything. And then some people were holding up their phones. It's like, do you have to call somebody? I have a phone, you know. And I don't think I immediately called anybody. I can't remember if I used somebody's phone and called anybody right away. It may have been a little bit later. What I learned later on is that it must have been, you know, maybe I should do a separate story on this, but it's like Dave, my boyfriend Dave Rosenthal, who was seeing at the time, he lived in Ridgecrest, and he was trying to get a hold of me. So I think I'll talk about Dave and what happened with that later, a little bit later, separate story. Anyway, that was the beginning of it, and I'm just going to end this here and then continue on another track on the earthquake. If this thing would work.